instead of Zoom. That's setting up right now. Cave Creek, Arizona's here. Hey, we got some Arizona people represent. We got Teresa represent from my home state, Colorado. Way to go, Colorado. Alaska's here. North Carolina's here. Hey, Karen. Hey, Iveria, how you doing? Great to see you on this morning from Alaska. And we are live out on Facebook right now. And it is 12 o'clock straight up, guys. We want to make sure Jen has all the time that she needs. We go from 12 to 12:30. We are on Facebook, the simulcast. People ask, hey, where can I see this again? You'll see the recording on Facebook directly after this under our video section. Hello, Columbia, Maryland. Welcome, Dallas, Newport Beach, California. You guys get the last shout outs. I'm going to turn it over to our resident SNP expert, Dr. Jen Meyer. She's a certified genetic nutrigenetic specialist, and thrilled to have her here. Jen, the time is yours. We're excited to hear about what SNPs you're going to cover today.
Hey, Craig, thank you so much. Hey, everybody. Hope you are all having a fabulous Wednesday thus far. For me, this is always exciting because I get to talk about the stuff that I love the most, right? And get to share the things that I've studied for so very long. So we are going to cover, here's our list of our SNPs, our 18 genetic SNPs that we're currently looking at with Euphoria. Hey, everybody. So we're going to go over, as I said last week, I want to look at inflammation and immune SNPs this week, right? So what does that mean for us? So when we think about inflammation, it should come to our minds sometimes as a bad thing, but most of the time we want it to be a good thing. Inflammation is good in a sense, right? So say I always put this on myself, and the one time that the first time I did, I walked outside and I twisted my ankle, so go figure. So say I walk outside, I come off the sidewalk and I twist my ankle. What is the body's natural immune response and inflammatory response? Turn it on, right? Get these things healed. So of course, inflammation sets in. All these great immune cells, cytokines, Th1, Th2 cells go to this area, repair it, and then inflammation shuts off. When the body's back to normal, homeostasis comes back, and we return about our daily lives, right? That's a great response that our body naturally does for us. However, when we have some of these genetic SNPs or variants that are related to inflammation and immune, it can be a little bit more aggressive, or we can stay in chronic inflammatory state. And so there is a good and an ugly, of course, when it comes to inflammation, and that's what we're going to talk about. So the first SNP that I kind of want to go into today, CRP, the C-reactive protein, right? So this indicates a healthy inflammatory response, right? I'm sure, how many of you have heard of the CRP test through blood work? Doctor measures it to see where your CRP levels are, to see how much inflammation you actually have in your body. That's a great marker to be able to tell through blood work. But guess what? We can also look, hey Rodney, we can actually also look now at your genetic variants to see how aggressive that may be for you and what that could mean, right? So the CRP gene is actually, it's an acute phase, right, that happens. It's produced in the liver and it's also secreted into the bloodstream. So that's how we can measure it through the blood. But when we're looking at the SNP, we're wondering how aggressive this could possibly be for you. How aggressive is your immune response? How much does it turn on? Because that can cause problems as well. So it's stimulated by the interleukin 6 or IL6, which we will also talk about. And it's produced by white blood cells and also our fat cells. So CRP, obviously, we know it can be detected in the blood for inflammation. And what do we get to use? Awesome ingredients like curcumin and turmeric that help our body kind of restore and balance a healthy inflammatory level. So does anybody have any questions on CRP? I have 4 of them I want to go through, and you know, we only have 30 minutes and everybody here knows I can ramble. So let's see if there's any questions. I can answer a couple and we'll move on to the next one. So I'm just going to pull this up here. Okay, so Angela, I am going to go ahead and answer you. You said you had if you don't mind me sharing, I hope you don't. You had a green for that SNP, but your CRP blood test was through the roof. Could that be from food allergies or what? That could be from so many different things. Our C-reactive protein level in our blood work can vary from day to day. If you had a cold, if you had a flu, anything like that, it can jump up. If your body is exactly fighting food, food allergies or intolerances, that it also can have that effect on your blood work as well. So different things can increase our C-reactive protein level, and that's when it sends a red flag to us providers to say, what's going on inside the body? And also there's a couple different forms of CRP that we check in the blood. I look at the HS CRP, so it's a very sensitive one. It also has to do with cardiovascular functioning too. So it could be a few different things. Could it be food allergies? Absolutely. Could it be other things? Absolutely. Without knowing your case, of course, it's hard for me to say. And yours is red. Yeah, so when we have people that have red, we want to make sure that we maintain a healthy immune and inflammatory response. That's why we put these great ingredients into your nutrition to make sure that your body and your biochemistry understands that an inflammatory response is healthy, but let's keep it on a healthy level and not be too much or too aggressive. So that's the CRP gene, and we can always go back. I want to get through the 4 though, if you guys don't mind. So Craig, if you don't mind going on to my next one. Interleukin-6, IL6. This is kind of a cool gene because I don't know how many of you know this. I did not know this when I first started looking at genetics and learning. We have genes that turn inflammation on, and we have genes that turn it off, right? So again, walk outside, sprain your ankle, heaven forbid, please nobody do this today because I would feel terrible. Body's innate immune response is to say inflammation and an immune system turn on. This is an on switch, right? So interleukin-6 is actually produced by white blood cells as well, of course. Inflammation and immune have a lot to do with our white blood cells and how our immune response is and how we react to different things. Any external, internal type of variance is going to be tested through these. So interleukin-6 is our on switch, right? So we can see a lot of autoimmune disorders, allergies, whether they're food or environmental, rheumatoid arthritis, Alzheimer's. These things can be subjective or be a possible outcome of having a genetic variant within the IL6. This means an aggressive immune and inflammatory response. Your body turns on and man, it ramps up. So we do see a lot of allergies because of this. It's like getting stung or bit by a wasp or a bee, stung by a wasp or bee, bit by a mosquito, and it blows up real big. That's what I mean when I'm talking about aggressive. Imagine that happening on the inside, right? We don't want that to happen. So if we're aware of these things, we know what we can do to kind of cool the fire inside of us. And that's what we're trying to accomplish here. Kelly, I remember you saying you had the red for the IL6. We've talked about this in the past. And I did tell you, I said, well, we've got to take care of this, right? Because, I just read this. All of her severe allergies are gone. Exclamation point, exclamation point. That's awesome, Kelly. I love hearing that. And that's when people say, I'm allergic to this, I'm allergic to that ingredient. What do I do? And I say, you know what, we're working on that. That's a branch symptom. We're going after that root cause, which is this IL6, right? We're trying to calm how your body reacts to things. Does that mean we'll rid all allergies for everybody? No, Kelly, that's amazing that that's happened for you, and that's the result that we hope to see, but it doesn't mean that all allergies are going to go away for everyone. So I hope everybody understands that as well. Everybody reacts differently. Not everybody has the same reaction to everything. So, but the goal is to calm and have a healthy immune response, right? The bad part about inflammation, there's a good and there's a bad, like I was saying. The bad part about inflammation is when it actually starts to fester and mold, like just kind of fester on the inside of us. And we think, I feel well, I'm healthy. Everything's going well, and it's starting to affect our organs, our biochemistry, and how things work. And then all of a sudden, here we are within this chronic disease, chronic inflammatory state. It's not all of a sudden. Inflammation can be all of a sudden in an acute phase if something happens, traumatic injury, virus, bacteria, anything like that. But this itself is on a much different level. We're talking about chronic inflammation here. Once these things start to come out and they're recognized, we usually have a lot of work to do. So that's why this is so important to understand if this is part of your blueprint and to be able to help and support it in a healthy way. Any questions on IL6 before I move on? Okay, I don't see anything, so I'm moving on. All right, next one for me, Craig, is the TNF-α, tumor necrosis factor alpha. This is a cool gene as well. So like I was saying, there's ones that turn inflammation on. Guess what? There's ones that turn it off. That's this guy. So this can actually help turn off the inflammatory response when your body says, okay, we fixed the problem, we killed the virus, we went after the bacteria, we repaired the trauma, now let's shut it down. And that's what this does. So that's the beauty. Our body recognizes, hey, this is what I'm supposed to do here, and it does it. Awesome, right? But as we know, and as we've learned, within these genetic variants, the biochemistry of our body can sometimes not work the way that it's supposed to. And that's why we look at these things, and it's so important to understand them, to be able to use it as a tool and not a weapon, which I find to be extremely important. So TNF-α, or the tumor necrosis factor alpha, is our off switch. Like I said, it's actually produced by our cytokines, right, which is another white blood cell. It actually plays a role, obviously, we know, in the inflammatory response. It is, inflammation is our body's natural immune system response to attack all these different variants and pathogens, viruses, bacteria, damaged cells, any kind of irritants, food allergies, anything like that. And aging also results in an increased level when we have these high cytokines. So if we have this gene in a yellow, in a yellow or in a red, we also want to be cautious and make sure that we can create a healthy response here. It can age us a little bit faster than we would like to. And who wants to age faster, right? That's why we're all here. We want healthy aging response, and we want a healthy immune and inflammatory response, and we want to feel good for as long as we possibly can to be able to do everything in life that we want to and that we need to, right? So my daughter's graduating next week. And, you know, I'm an emotional mom because of that. So you have to excuse me today if I seem a little off. But that's something I need to get through. We have a lot of work to do, right? So imagine if my body wasn't working the way that it was supposed to, I'd have a hard time keeping up with this. And I don't want to do that. I want to make sure that I'm ready to rock and roll with everything that we have to do and to get her ready to go in hopes that she misses me every single day. So with tumor necrosis factor alpha, we want an optimally healthy immune response and inflammatory response. We need a healthy balance here. If we start to get too much inflammation, it doesn't shut it off. That's when we lead to chronic disease and illness and a bunch of different things. Now we have free radicals. We have all these things kind of going on in the body, and it can wreak havoc, of course. And that's when we lead ourselves into chronic disease. And I don't know how many times I have seen this from other practitioners as well that say, you know what, guess what? The root cause of most diseases, inflammation, right? So I think we've all heard it and we understand that. So chronic inflammation leads to chronic disease, which makes it really tough for us to kind of overcome and do all these other processes we need to do when our body's on high alert. And that's what the problem is with inflammation. When these genetic variants are off and we have chronic inflammation, or we don't address it like we do here with euphoria, we start to have this shift in how our body responds to everything because it's on high alert. It's almost like in fight or flight mode. It's constantly trying to come after everything, but it can't do everything, of course. So then other things come in and have a problem. So let's see if I can answer a couple questions on this. One parent has a yellow. If one parent has a yellow and the other has a yellow of these SNPs you're teaching about today, can the offspring get a red, meaning both parents have a yellow? Absolutely, that can happen, right? So if both, I see what you're saying here, Cheryl, and let me make sure that I got it correctly. So if both parents have this yellow here, yeah, you can both give one copy of the SNP to a child and it can be a homozygous or a red, absolutely. We actually did charts in school to learn about how all that can happen. And I always recommend patients or people doing that as well because it's interesting to learn. If you have a red, well, your kids most likely get it. If you have a red, it depends on what the father of the children, we'll just put it that way, what he has as well. Is it a potential for your children? Absolutely, it is. So it is nice to know this. The kids can differ as well. So I always recommend the parents having these tests done first. And then we can always, hopefully one day, start looking at kids. So that's tumor necrosis factor. Off switch, IL6, on switch, C-reactive protein is how your body responds to inflammation as well. I am actually going to go on to the next one if you guys don't mind, and then we can go back because this is my last one. So we'll have some time hopefully to wrap up some questions as well. The vitamin D receptor. So I put this one on here for a particular reason. I think most of you know that vitamin D is vital to the immune system. It's very important that we have a healthy vitamin D level. It is an immunomodulator. Vitamin D is as a vitamin. It can induce, enhance, suppress, or even regulate the immune response. So of course it'll decrease inflammation. So this is a really important SNP to look at as well. So I understand that with the vitamin D receptor, I think that there was some concerns with having vitamin D because of Canada. I'm from Canada, so yay Canada, but they do have different rules and such, so we have to be cautious and make sure that everybody can get the same thing, of course. So this is being worked on, looked at, and addressed. It can be an extra booster, of course, as we know, so we can talk about that later as well. But vitamin D is very crucial and very important to the immune system. Without proper amounts of vitamin D, and here's the thing about this, that I kind of want everybody to understand, this doesn't measure the amount of vitamin D that you have in your body, right? Everybody thinks, well, if I don't have this gene, does that mean I don't need vitamin D? That's not at all what that means, right? So if you have this genetic variant, it means that your body doesn't absorb and assimilate and use vitamin D as well as somebody who doesn't. But if you don't have this gene, doesn't mean that you don't need vitamin D. Having your vitamin D levels checked is extremely important, right? Because then we understand how much we actually need versus how much we don't. Do we have vitamin D added to our supplement? I'm not sure if everyone has vitamin D or not. It depends on this SNP, and as of now, we are trying to make sure that we're following all the rules with everybody, including Canada, right? So Canada has the FDA, and I think Brett can talk more about this. Brett, I don't know if he's on here today at all. It is added, correct? Yes. So if it's yellow or green, it'll be added, but we had to kind of watch our dosage because of that. So we are going to be, in the practitioner line, we're going to be able to do some more with vitamin D. If the practitioner sees that there's a need for more vitamin D, we can always add it in for the booster as well. If you have a green, that means you did not get any vitamin D. That's correct. So added for you because you're a yellow, exactly. You do 2 milligrams and I'm on green on that SNP. Great, Cheryl. And then make sure you have your vitamin D level checked, because you also don't want too much vitamin D, right? Because that's not good either. And the only time that I have seen too much vitamin D is this patient of mine decided he was going to take 50,000 IUs a day because he didn't want to get a sunburn on his cruise. I don't know, whatever. His vitamin D jumped up to like 173, and I was like, whoa. And of course I'm panicking now, thinking, what is going on with this poor guy? Thinking he has cancer and all these bad things. And so I studied and I lost sleep over it. And in the morning he says, I'm taking 50,000 IUs a day. I lost sleep for nothing. But regardless, that just shows that you can take too much of it. Just because your gene or your SNP comes back as a yellow or red, you do need it, yes, and we do different amounts depending on whether it's yellow or red, right? That's the beauty of this. Not everybody gets the same because everybody differs in how they assimilate and use these vitamins. And if you're a green, it doesn't mean that you don't have to take it. It just means that when you do take it, your body responds to it better than somebody else, and you don't have to take it in such high doses. That's what it means. So not having to measure the amount, this is irrelevant to that. We still always recommend you seeing your practitioner to have your blood work done to make sure that you have the proper amount in your bloodstream. Randy lives in Alaska. It is very dark in Alaska, right? Not a lot of sunshine. There is a need for vitamin D. There's a lot of vitamin D deficiency in Alaska, as well as some other stuff we'll have to talk about at some point, Randy. Should you be adding the booster? It wouldn't hurt. Yeah, I would recommend either going through a practitioner and having your levels measured and seeing how much they recommend. But I absolutely think that if you live in Alaska or if you live somewhere where you're not getting as much sunshine, of course, even if you are in beautiful St. George like I am here and you're getting a ton of sunshine, it doesn't mean that you have enough vitamin D either, right? So you absorb about the first 15 minutes that you're out in the sun to be used by the body. Afterwards, you're just getting a sunburn, right? So we want to make sure, hopefully not, we want to make sure that you're getting the right amount. So having your vitamin D levels is checked is crucial. It's a fat soluble vitamin. We want to make sure you get the right amount in the right form, of course, as well, and you're not getting too much or too little. Rodney's green. We've talked about this before. Rodney, I think you've got some amazing genetics if I remember correctly. Okay, Linda, I'm gonna say, how much does the overall supplement dosage of daily capsule intake change from someone with lots of reds and yellows versus someone with less? Okay, so Linda, that's kind of a broad question. I'm gonna go ahead and answer a little bit about that, but I also wanna stick to a lot of immune and inflammatory stuff, but that is a great question. It depends, right? So somebody who has less red and yellow SNPs and has a lot more green, it just means that you get a little bit more of that base that we use, right? With all the good antioxidants and free radical fighters and such like that. So that's what it means. It doesn't mean that you're not getting anything. It means you're still getting a healthy dose of some great things. Is anyone here, I'm so curious, does anyone here have all greens? I haven't seen it in practice or anywhere yet. I just thought I would ask. Anyone have all greens? I can't see on Facebook, so if you guys are answering me, I'll look at it later for sure, but I haven't seen it, so I'm curious. Your mom only had one red. That's awesome, and the rest are all greens, yeah? That's some good genes you got passed down to you. Good for you. So I think that, in my opinion, this is all my opinion, of course, working on your inflammatory and immune response is vital, right? If your immune system and your inflammatory response doesn't react the way that it's supposed to in a healthy way, it reacts too heavily, it's going to lead to some problems. You know, when it's on high alert, like I said, you may feel healthy, you may feel great, but you've got this smoldering inflammation and it's slowly starting to destroy things like your organs and muscles and tissues and the ability for optimal functioning, which leads us to rapid aging. So understanding these SNPs and knowing what to do to help support it is huge, right? Curcumin, turmeric, these are two of our heavy hitter ingredients that have been known. You look up turmeric and curcumin when it comes to inflammation, it's huge, right? You see so many studies out there that will tell you that these two components do help fight inflammation and help a healthy immune response. And it's something that we can take every day as well, which is great. Okay, I'm gonna look over here and see some of these questions. You know, my dad screwed it for me. I have a red and immune, a red and teacher. Yeah, and red and blood pressure. Yeah, sometimes we have one parent that we can blame for all this stuff, right? So we just go talk to them and say, thanks. Red in the IL6. Could you please reply if possible? I will look at Facebook. I'm not right this second, of course. I can't see it and I have too many things up at once. So I'll look at Facebook later. Absolutely. I'm sorry, everybody on Facebook that's asking questions. I'll take a peek, but making sure, I can't emphasize this enough, that we have a healthy immune and inflammatory response is vital to our overall health and wellness. It really is. And it just keeps us from falling into a category of potential chronic disease. It decreases our ability to be able to detox. It decreases our ability to be able to fight off infections, viral, bacterial. We have external inflammatory factors as well. So we want to make sure that if we eat something that we could possibly be intolerant to, our bodies don't constantly freak out all the time and we're like, why don't I feel good? You ever wake up and your joints are achy, you don't feel well. You know, it's just a constant inflamed feeling. I've been there and it's not fun. When you can actually feel, Craig and I were talking about this earlier, lighter, better, healthier. It's an amazing feeling, right? And it doesn't mean that it keeps you from any kind of chronic disease. I don't want people to think, oh, if I take care of, you know, these things, I'm never going to have chronic disease. No, but gosh darn it, it's going to help a lot. That's for sure. And it's just going to give your body what it needs to be able to keep a healthy immune and inflammatory response. So when we are exposed to viruses, we are exposed to bacteria, which we all are every day. Cold and flu season is one way to think about that. We want to make sure that our body is able to fight it off and we don't become more sick for even longer. You guys will start to notice during cold and flu season, oh, I'm not really getting sick, or I don't get sick as much as I did before. that's because you now have a healthy immune and inflammatory response, and that's an awesome thing. So I am going to pull some of these questions up and read these if you guys don't mind. We have about 6 minutes. I can't believe I kept on task. That's amazing. Everyone takes the same amount of supplements regardless. Linda, no, it's personalized, right? Not everybody takes the same amount of anything. That's the beautiful thing. Everybody is different. We put different things in for different SNPs. And we use a base, of course. If you don't have a certain SNP, everybody has a specific amount, starts out with a specific amount of base. And then depending on all the different little individual ingredients that are going to help your SNP profile is going to differ of how much the base that you have. So nobody gets the same anything. That's the beauty of all this, right? Let me see if there's any other questions that I can see. I'm sorry on Facebook, guys. Excited to learn exactly what my son inherited. Sandy, okay. You have a red CRP and he has cystic acne. So that's part of the equation probably with it. There's probably also, I'm curious if you don't mind sharing, do you have the GSTP1 gene SNP in there? So that has a lot to do with skin and stuff as well, and detoxifying from that. With the cystic acne, it of course is an aggressive immune and inflammatory response. We understand that, but it also has a component with detox. And of course, the gut, lifestyle, how does he eat? What does he eat? So there's a lot of cofactors that are involved in that one. Sandy said you're green on that one. Good. So that's a good thing. I'd be curious. Loves dairy. Ding, ding, ding. Dairy is not good for acne. Dairy is phlegm, right? I know that sounds disgusting, but I don't eat dairy. So for me, this is an easy thing to say. Dairy creates phlegm in the body and can create things like cystic acne and acne problems. And I don't know how old he is. If he's a teenager, we all know how those teenagers don't like to listen to 24. Okay, so he's still kind of a teenager mentally, right? So yeah, kind of pulling him off dairy a little bit will help. And do you have him on this product? I hope so. I hope you're telling me yes. He got it in middle school, right? So, and what happens in middle school? Hormones. So hormones kick in, but hormones aren't the direct cause. Hormones are always a branch symptom that happens because of something else. Remember that. So he is finally swabbed. Good job. So this will help him quite a bit, yes. And hopefully we'll see a decrease in his cystic acne and also his gut function, because we know that however the gut is, it's going to show up on the skin as well. And guys, we can even have inflammatory conditions that happen in the gut, right? So we need to be really cautious and really proactive when it comes to making sure that our inflammation is at a very healthy level and a healthy response. Right? So we want that CRP to be through blood work less than 0.2. We want to feel good. We don't want to feel inflamed and achy and yucky. That's not fun. I mean, inflammation can cause, you heard what I said, autoimmune, absolutely. Arthritis, rheumatoid, all those things, IBS and gut inflammation. It can cause a lot of different ailments that I don't think any of us want to have to deal with. So keeping a healthy immune response will help us not have to go down that path. Some more research. Yes, correct. Orsini, oh my gosh, I could be totally hacking your name and I'm so sorry. This is why I have assistants at the office so they can mess up people's names and I don't have to. Our formulas will update. We're always evolving, of course, right? It's as science is. So as science evolves, we evolve and things could possibly change. Absolutely. And that's a good thing, right? Change is growth. Change is good. So we want to make sure that we're growing and that we're getting the research and we're implementing that within our product. I have about 2 minutes. I know Craig's going to be amazing and start to tell me here soon. So I just want to make sure if there's anything else I'm missing. Everybody on Facebook, thanks so much for watching. I'm so sorry if I can't get to your questions because I can't see them, but I will go back and take a peek just out of curiosity as well. So everyone takes 5 capsules in the morning and 5. Linda, people can take these differently. No, this is not, you're looking at it from an umbrella theory, and that's the difference of what we get to do here. It's not everybody falls under the same category, right? Some people they split them up and they take 5 and 5. take them in the morning, take in the afternoon, take in the afternoon, take in the evening. Some people take 10 altogether. I know quite a few people that do well when they take 10 altogether. So it's all different, right? That's the beauty of this. It's personalized, it's precise. So it's about you and what makes you feel good. So if you want to take them differently, you can. Red snip, twice as bad as the yellow snips. Rockin' Dave, how are you? The red snip, is it twice as bad? Well, it means we definitely want to be more proactive with it, right? So if we have a red snip, we're going to add more of the ingredient than we would if it was yellow. We still want to pay attention if it's yellow, absolutely. But that means you got copy from both parents, of course. So it's something we need to be more proactive about, absolutely. Oh, thanks. Thank you, guys. I appreciate this. He doesn't want to get snips done. Cheryl, why doesn't your husband want to do this? That's sad. Tell him he should do this. It's like, give the car analogy. I have probably 20 seconds and Craig's going to come in and tell me. Tell him that when he bought his car, he was given a manual for his car, right? So he knew what kind of gasoline to put in it. And he knew what to tell, whether he had it serviced or did it himself, what kind of oil to put in it, right? We have this information available to us, and so we're not putting the wrong things in our car. It doesn't run right. We're getting the most out of our money that we put into buying our vehicles so we can do everything we need to do on a daily basis. Guess what? Your body's the same way. And now we can give those blueprints to people so we can help them do what they need to do on a daily basis every single day and have the energy and the thrive and feel good and be able to give our bodies exactly what it needs at the exact right time and the exact right amount. So I don't know, try the car analogy with him and see what he says, but hopefully that will work. It works with a lot of guys. I think, Craig, I think I'm out of time. I'm looking at some other stuff. Linda, I think we need to have a deeper conversation at some point, and maybe we do a kind of a overview of everything and how this works a little bit different when we're done with all of our snips. My brain moves a lot faster than my mouth wants it to.
You're great, Jen.
So maybe we do that and go back to the basics after we finish these snips, Linda, because I know there's a lot of questions that you have, and I want to make sure that we thoroughly answer them. Thank you, everybody, so much. I know I'm over time. If you're on Facebook, I appreciate you watching. Repeat, ask questions. Next week, I'm going to go into detoxification genes. So get your questions ready for that. And I'm going to let Craig take over. You guys have an awesome Wednesday, and we'll see you next week. Next week is my daughter's graduation, so I'm going to be really distracted on that day. So I will apologize in advance. You may see tears even, so we'll see.
Okay, well, we'll look for the heavy, dark sunglasses. Okay, next week. Hey, everybody, what a blast, huh? Isn't this a great pleasure and privilege for us to have Dr. Jen join us every Wednesday? Again, countdown to Vegas, June 27th through the 30th. Remember, that Thursday night, we're going to get together for a little mix and mingle. Friday, we've got the U of U and a recognition celebration that night. Saturday is going to be all about Eric Worre, and then we've got entertainment and dance that night. And then Sunday is going to be all about leadership and science. So we look forward to seeing you there in Vegas, and we're so appreciative again of Dr. Jen taking some of her time today to answer your questions. And we will see you next Wednesday at the same amazing time, 12 p.m. Mountain Standard Time with Lunchtime Science with Dr. Jen. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.